Welcome back. In this episode, we are going to look at how to create the endpoints. Okay, so this is where we stopped in the last episode. We just simply made our form functional. The data was received. We could reset the form. We could show the loading spinner, and we did a number of stuff. Okay, so in this episode, let's see how do we send this data to our API routes. Okay, so to create the API route in Next.js 13, you have to go in the app, right, and create a new folder. And in this folder, I'm just going to call it API, as simple as that. And then in the API, you can create also a new folder, and then we can call it contacts or contact, whatever you want to say, but let's call it contacts. So API contacts, and then inside it, we can create the first page or the first endpoint by saying route.js. Okay, just simple as that. So inside the API, we have contacts. Then inside the contacts, we have created route.js. Okay, so here is, if you want to create an endpoint, you say export async function, and this function is just going to post, and inside here we get the request. So the post, the first one is the post, and the post is actually responsible for creating a new item or creating a new record in the database. Okay, so on this point we have export async function post, and it is receiving the request. Then inside here you can do a try catch, because anything can go wrong. And in this the catch, first of all, we can console.log. okay, here we can just see error while creating contact, and then we can also put the error itself. Okay, we just put the error, and then show the response on the UI. We can just say return next response, and this next response we get from next server. Make sure it imports on top here correctly. Okay, so next response dot JSON. Okay, and in this JSON want to return two things: the message, first of all, the message, which is going to be okay, failed to create contact. So this is how you're supposed to handle the error handling. So you have the message, and you can also have the error itself. So you say error, and here you can just say error dot message. Okay, error dot message. Okay, this looks like there is a problem with my spellings. Error. So you have the message, and you can also give the status. Okay, we can give the status. We can just put status here, status 500. Okay, just like that. This is how we handle the catch. You can console, and then you can return this for capturing it on the UI to know what was the exact problem that happened. You can have the message, you have the error itself, and all those kind of stuff. Okay, this is great. Then in this other part, the try part, this was the error part. If the request is not done well for some reason, now here you can actually get the request. Okay, you have the request, and now in the request, most of the times is that we capture the data that we are sending. Okay, if you look at the data that we send from the form, okay, I don't know if we still have any data object. If you look at the data that we send from the phone, we send only these four things. Okay, we send the email, name, phone, and profile. So I can just come here and I get them from the request. So I can destructure them and I say name, phone, email, and the profile. Okay, we are getting them from await request. So we await the request dot JSON. Okay, so we extract this data or we destructure it from the request. Okay, so after getting it here, okay, you can just say const, let me say contact, okay, is equal to, let me just create the object that is made up of these ones so that we can see them at once. So just do like this, the new contact, just call it new contact, just like that. Const new contact is name, phone, email, this. Okay, so I can also just say return. First of all, let's console.log it. You can just say console.log this new contact so that you can see it, and we can also return the response. So return next response, okay, dot JSON. First of all, you can pass the new course, the new contact, okay, and comma, we can pass also the state, the status as 201. You could even put the message, but just keep it like this. We have the 201, the resource has been created, and we also return back the new contact. Okay, this is great. So let's check out if this is working. Okay, first of all, to see the endpoint, we have to create here the, go back to the create. So let's send this data, and we send it from here, by the way. So when we get this data, let's send it to the API. Send the data to the API. Okay, so we are sending this data to this API endpoint. So we say const, okay, response is equal to await, okay, fetch. So we fetch and then we pass in the data here. So the first one is the URL, so pass in http localhost 3000 API courses, no, courses contacts, just here http API contacts, and this is here API contacts. This is what I'm passing in here, response. So we have this response. Then the second argument, we pass in options. So in the options, the first one is method, okay, and the method is post, just like that. The second one is the headers, okay, and in the headers just pass in the content type, okay, just say content type is the application JSON, and then the third one, you pass in the body, which is containing the data, which is going to be JSON dot stringify. So we have to stringify it, and we are contact data. Okay, so we have contact data, which we have on top here. Okay, this one. So it's what we are sending. We are sending that data to the API endpoint. Okay, and then we could just say if, first of all, if response is okay. Of course, you could just say if response is not okay. Okay, if the response is not okay, you could throw an error. Okay, you could throw an error, but we can just capture only if the response is okay. So you can just say if the response is .ok, that means the response have gone through. First of all, want to put all these things here. So all these ones, they must be inside this if statement. Okay, so put this inside here. Want all these ones to happen. Now the reset, set loading to false, toastify. Want if the response is okay from the database, from the API. Okay, and then here, of course, we can, after that, we can get the response back. Okay, we can just say const. You can just get the data back if you wanted it. Okay, we could just get the data back like response dot JSON. Okay, if you wanted to see the data that was created, you can get it back, but there is no need. Okay, let's just go again. We try it and see if there is any problems we are having. So just fake feed here, and let's upload the image. Get this image here, upload it. Now it will take more time and we might have also many errors. So just submit. It's us creating. Please wait. Okay, we wait for a minute. We see if everything is okay, and you see contact created successfully. We have the console here, means everything actually went through. So first of all, we can check on the console. Okay, just go on the terminal, go to this, and you will see some output. At least we should see, and you can see here we have this. This is from the route here. It is consoling this new contact. Okay, and this is the name, phone that was sent, the email, and even the image. This is good to have it right on the first time. You might get errors, but please rewatch this section. If you have any errors, if you're not getting this endpoint back, just simply rewatch back. So the part that we are starting to enter now, it is this part where the data is actually entering the API route. Okay, the data is entering the API route, and now we are going to have to set up Prisma, because Prisma is the one that has to get the data now from this point and send it to MongoDB. Okay, so in this part, let's set up Prisma. Okay, so if you go back to the documentation here, when you go back to the documentation, on top here, there is where we have setting up Prisma. Let me just zoom out a bit. So in this documentation here, there is where we have setting up Prisma. Okay, just setting up Prisma. So we have npm install Prisma. So that is the first thing, install Prisma, and we're going to use yarn. So I'm just going to say yarn add Prisma. Okay, so install Prisma first. Let me just put all these things up, guys. This part of Prisma is very sensitive. Okay, let me first clear all this. This part of Prisma is very sensitive, so let's start by installing Prisma. So you can just say yarn add Prisma. Okay, as simple as that. Yarn add Prisma. This can take some time. As we are waiting for it, let's be looking at what Prisma. So Prisma gives us a number of things. First of all, you install Prisma, and then there is a Prisma Client. Now Prisma Client is the only, this client is the one which gives us access to the CRUD operations. It gives us that instance of Prisma that is going to perform the CRUD operations. This one, the Prisma Client. So we install Prisma, and then after Prisma, you install the Prisma Client. Okay, let's see. It is still here installing. Let's wait for a second. It's going to be done, and then now we can go ahead and install the Prisma Client. So I'm just going to copy this, Ctrl C. Let's wait for this one to finish in a second. Okay. Okay, it is done. Okay, let me clear. Let's now install the Prisma client. So yarn add Prisma client. Simple as that. Yarn add Prisma client. So install the Prisma client. Now next is actually initiating Prisma and MongoDB. Okay, remember we are going to use Prisma and the MongoDB. Okay, so in this case we need to see that connection. Okay, we need to see that connection. Let's first see if this one is finished. There is some problem, I guess. I guess this is not found. Prisma client unexpected. So you can just like, I don't know if there is any problem. Yarn Prisma client, we can just do a simple Google about yarn Prisma client. Or you can just say how to install Prisma client. Install Prisma client using yarn. Okay, I just go here, Prisma client docs. Okay, there is here npm only. I don't know. Let's first check if also Prisma client, there is, I don't know if there is any installation here. Install Prisma CLI. So after installing this, okay, they're using npm to install it. Okay, I think we can still run npm. I don't think it will have any problems because really they are not showing us how to use yarn. Okay, it is supposed to be yarn. What did we say? Yarn add Prisma client. Let's see, resolving unexpected error. Let's first try again. Okay, when it fails again, then we suggest use npm. Let's just see if the problem still exists. Okay, let's just say npm. Let's use npm. Okay, just copy this. I guess yarn should find a way of resolving it because we need the client. So let's try to, let me go to the package so that we see what you have added so far. Prisma has installed. We need also Prisma client. Okay, so we are installing it using npm. Okay, as it is installing, we can just talk about the data. So after installing this, we have to initiate this MongoDB. So meanwhile, you can just go to MongoDB. So let's say go to MongoDB. So you can just go to MongoDB and log in. Okay, you can just type in MongoDB Atlas or MongoDB login so that you can log into your MongoDB. If you don't have a MongoDB account, just simply create one. It is for free. Okay, meanwhile this side the installation is still going on. Okay, let's just go to MongoDB. You can log in with GitHub or you can log in with Google. I'm just going to log in with my Google account. So you must first create an account with MongoDB so that we move on really very well. So the installation is happening this side. Okay, let's just go to MongoDB. So you can create a new project in MongoDB. If you have an existing project, you can also use that one. Okay, if you have an existing project, you can just come here and create a new one. I don't know if I still have to create, or if my account I can't create a new one. Just simply create new project. Okay, create a new project. I'm just going to call it Prisma CRUD. So just call it Prisma CRUD. That is the name of the project. Click next. I'm not going to add any members or anything. Just simply create project. Okay. Meanwhile, this side the installation is still going on. So the project has been created. You can just create a database. Just click on this database here. So click on create on database, and let's wait for a second. Okay, so just click on build a database. Okay, so first of all, here on this create for free, by default it is in this one. Do not create from this one where they charge you this per hour. Just simply create on this one, and you can see here they give you storage of 10 GB, 2 RAM, and the CPU of this. But here we just create the free one where they give us shared CPU and the shared RAM. Click on this free, create. Okay, so after creating this, you have the username here and the password. So the password is very important. So you can copy this password. Okay, you can copy and keep that password. Let me just copy this. So I've copied the password, and let me go to the code, and in the project you can just have inside your project, like inside the API. Let me just go to inside my API in the route. On top here, let me just put my password here. This is not where we are going to put it. I'm just simply put it here to keep it in a second. Okay, so just create a user. The username you can see it here. If you want, you can also copy it, but just simply create a user. As simple as that. So we are creating a user. After creating the user, you can first of all add this here, add entries to your IP address. So the IP address here, simply add 1 with 0.0.0.04 times stroke 0. Okay, just like this. This means you are giving access to every machine. Okay, just click on that, add the entry. Okay, that is great. After adding that one, then click on finish and close. Okay, so you see here we have just set up this one. So go to overview. Okay, next is connect. Click on connect. Here we want to get the connection string that we will use. And now on the connection, you can use, there are so many, Campus, Cell, Mongo for VS Code. There are so many. You can click on this one which has drivers. Okay, you can click on this one which has drivers, and then scroll down. Okay, you see you have the string here. Okay, you have the string, and you can see they tell you to insert your password, blah 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 blah, like that. Okay, so there's something I wanted to show you. There is here, if you say show me the full snippet, they can show you how to use, if you are using like Node.js or something, but here they show you how to use it. Okay, and you can see the password is required, but just don't do that. Just simply copy this. Okay, copy that, this string, just copy it. You are going to use it in a minute. And the installation this side is done. Down here, let me also put another one, this, and I put my string there. So I have two strings that I've gotten from I have two strings I've gotten this URL, and I've also gotten my password. Okay, so these are the two things we need, and you can see the password is supposed to be placed here in this URL, this MongoDB URL. You are supposed to put your password here. Okay, so what you can do is just simply copy this. Okay, copy or cut actually, and then put where there is password here. Put just like that. So we are going to save this in a second. Okay, we'll save this in a second in the .env or in the environment variables. We'll save this one. Okay, but right now we have our connection string. So since that this one has finished installing, let's first confirm it has installed it. Okay, let's check in the package. So just go to package.json. Let's confirm. So we want to see if it has installed the Prisma client, and we have Prisma client. Okay, that is good. So moving on, after we have installed that, let's just move on. And at least we have also done with MongoDB. We have connected MongoDB. Just click on close. After you have copied this, click on close. As simple as that. So next, let's go back to our guide. So after you have installed the Prisma client, initiate Prisma here. Okay, so you're going to use npx Prisma init, and then we can provide the data source provider is MongoDB. So if you are going to use, for instance, MySQL, you put MySQL. If you want to use Cockroach, you can use Cockroach, or PlanetScale. Any you want to use, you pass the data source provider or the database you are going to use. Okay, so you can just copy this command, npx Prisma init. Okay, just copy this, and let's go down here. Let's clear. So I'm just going to say clear. Okay, so just say npx. So watch what is going to happen here. Okay, is going to create some files. Most especially to create two files, the Prisma file and the .env the .env file. So just click enter here. Okay, it is npx Prisma init data source provider, and you can see it did a lot of things. If you go back here, okay, so they tell you your Prisma schema was created. So they created as Prisma schema. They created a new file called Prisma here, which is having one file, Prisma schema.prisma. If you go down here, they tell you that you can now open it in your favorite editor. Then you already have a gitignore file, so don't forget to add .env in the gitignore. They tell you what to do. Next step, set your database URL. So they tell you the next steps here. Set your database URL, and this is what we were working on before we went on to setting it here. We just created and got this database URL that we just stored temporarily in our route. So we have this, and they tell you everything. Now, after you have defined your modules, you can run Prisma generate to generate the Prisma client. Okay, then you can start querying the database. You see, they give you nice steps, but what they have done, they created this file, and they also created the .env because we did not have this. Okay, so when you go to this file, they have already put some stuff, and you can see here, you can see this format is exact format that we have here in our route. Let me copy this. just cut it. Let me bring it to .env here. So we have database URL. If I paste ours down here, you see that this one is almost or looks like this format. MongoDB plus srv, this is the one. And then we have this random password, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So remove this. But one thing I want you to clearly see, after they have said mongodb.net stroke my DB. So this is why you put the database name. Okay? So after this one, just come here and put contacts. So our database, we are calling it contacts. Okay? As simple as that. You can just say contact DB, contacts DB, whatever you want, but I'm calling it contacts. So just now cut this. Okay, let's replace it here. So where is this? Cut and remove that, replace with this one. So now this is the connection string that we got from MongoDB. If you have confused it, just watch back how I did it until you have it. Remove all these other things. Okay, you can remove all these other ones. So if you scroll, in this file we are supposed to have other things. Okay, we are supposed to have any other things like schemas and the data source. Okay, you're supposed to have schemas and the data source. Okay, let me just after running this one, there are some two things that it has not put for us: the engine and some other information. Just you can go to Prisma. Okay, we can just go to Prisma. Let's just say you can just type in the URL Prisma MongoDB with Prisma. So you can say let's just say Prisma and MongoDB. As simple as that. Prisma and MongoDB. So you just go to this documentation. Let's see if it can help us set up. So the first thing you see here, they told you here there is something supposed to be this data source. Okay, so in your Prisma file, okay, example, to connect to a MongoDB server, configure database data source block in your Prisma file. Okay, in your Prisma file, and add this. So on top, I'm just going to add this. I think it is in the Prisma file. Wait a second. So in this .env file, we have sorry guys, in the .env we have the database URL. This is what is supposed to be here only. Okay, let's go to our Prisma file. Other things are inside the Prisma file. So when you go here inside the Prisma file, they have done already some things for us. Okay, this is the one I was just looking for, this one, and it is the one I was getting from here. Okay, so inside your Prisma there is schema.prisma, and they have two things. The first one, they give us the client. So this is the one to initiate the provider, the client, Prisma Client. Okay, and then the second one is the one which tells us the database. So database, they use data source, then you put a DB, and then you put the provider and the URL. So the provider is MongoDB. The database connection URL is we have stored it in environmental variables as database URL. So at this point, we are good. The third thing after that, let's go back to here. Another thing now is to model your data. Now, modeling data generally in the backend and the full stack, it needs a whole complete video. It is so huge, and this is not even about Prisma, but it is about schemas generally in the full stack or in the backend side. Okay, so if you want me to make a complete video about schemas only how to model database schemas, you can comment in the description. If so many people demand for it, I will make it. But here I'm just going to explain briefly. So one thing, if you want to know the schema, start with a small piece to think about. The data that you are going to model actually it comes from the forms. Okay, so ask yourself, what data do I want to collect from the user? Let's say you are making a product management, or you are making a contact management. So we are saying each contact, okay, we are saying each contact should have a name, okay, the contact name, contact phone, contact email, and the contact image. So these are 4 things, or 4 types of information we are collecting on the contact. Okay, so you are going to data the model. These are the first things you have to add, okay, in your schema. The things that are coming from the form, or the data you want to store, is what we put in the schema. Now, for each item you store in the database, at least it must have an ID. That is the rule of thumb. It must have an ID. That's why in creating a schema here, first of all, you say model. Now, the model you put contact, because this is a resource we are trying to create, is a contact. Okay, like contact name, contact email, contact what. If it was product, where we have product name, product image, product description, the model becomes product, and it must be starting with caps, like capital letter, like this. Okay, so it becomes model contact, model product, model user, like that. And then the items you put inside here, okay, the first one always must be an ID. At least when you are creating a resource, whether it is a to-do list, whether it is anything, you must always have the ID. Okay, then after the ID, you can put now the items you have in the form. So you see, you have the name, which is a string, we have the phone, which is a string, we have the image, which is a string because it's a URL, and we have also email, which is a string. Okay, now talking of this string here, the ID itself is also a string. Now you see we are mapping the ID generated by the Prisma, mapping it with the ID that is going to be generated by MongoDB. Now if you search about MongoDB plus Prisma, you can actually find a documentation that can show you actually how to use MongoDB. Okay, you can find where they are talking about that. I'm not going to go into that, showing you what that one is, but what we have to do is we have to change this ID so that we map it to the ID. In MongoDB, when you generate a new document or a new item, it comes with this ID of this type, underscore ID, and it is a problem. We have to fix it by doing this. First of all, we say ID is of type string, and then we say it is a type ID, and to provide a default one, we use at default auto. But then we map it, we say this ID here that is generated is mapped with the one generated from MongoDB. Okay, so this is our schema. You can now simply copy this, okay, and take it to our schema down here, paste this just like that. Okay, so we have model contact, it has an ID, it has a name, it has a phone, image, and email. Okay, the order does not matter so long as you put these 4 items. So that is a big thing. So after you have modeled your data in the Prisma schema, by the way, if you want to see a video separate about schemas and Prisma schemas, you also comment in the description. I can make a separate video about Prisma schemas, going into details of relationships and others. Right now, we want to perform the CRUD. That's why I'm simplifying it that way. So next, run this. Okay, so to generate the client, we can say npx prisma generate. Okay, so just come down here. Okay, down here, let me put this up. So just come and paste this npx prisma generate. Okay, this one is going to initiate or to create an instance of the Prisma client. Okay, and it is moving on here. Environmental variables loaded, Prisma schema also loaded. Okay, let's wait and see. And it is trying to generate the instance. Okay, so it is done. Okay, it is done here. If you see what it did, generated Prisma client, you can see here. So it has generated an instance of Prisma client. Okay, that is very powerful, by the way, guys. So they tell you start using Prisma client in Node.js. This is also something to note in Node.js. Okay, then they show you how to use it. You can import Prisma client just like this, and const Prisma is a new Prisma client. And you see, it can be it has this object that it is giving us from Prisma client that we can create this Prisma. Okay, after doing this, we can continue. Okay, after generating npx, we can push the models to the database. Okay, so we can push this database we have created, we can push it to the DB by saying npm prisma db push npx prisma db push. So what we are doing right now is we are getting this stuff here we have. We are pushing this model here. We are pushing it to our MongoDB. Okay, so just run npx db push just like that. Npx prisma db push. Okay, so it is doing its thing. It has connected to the data source. Okay, contacts, they say the database contacts has been created. It normally brings this, click allow access. When you allow access, it creates and pushes the database. Okay, and if you just check what it has written here, they tell you everything they did, applying the following changes. So they created a collection called contact. Your database indexes are now in sync with your Prisma schema. Everything is looking fine. So now from that step, first of all, you can check in your MongoDB right now. If I go there and I click on database, okay, let me click on database, and you can see we have cluster 0. You just say browse collections. Okay, and you see it created a database called contacts, and then we have this schema. We have this schema called contact. Okay, we have this schema called contact. It created that schema called contact. That's what we wanted. Now to visualize this, we are not going to be coming back this side. Okay, we will not be coming back this side. We are going to use Prisma itself to actually visualize this in the browser. Okay, so what we are going to do right now, just follow the documentation. So down here we can run the Prisma Studio. Okay, so we can just say npx Prisma Studio, npx Prisma Studio, just like that. Npx Prisma Studio, just run that. So this one is going to create us a graphical user interface, or an interface in the browser, whereby we can view our database and everything about our database. Okay, so you see it opens up just like this, and it is getting this ready, and you can see all models. We have only one model, which is called contact. This is really, really great. Okay, let me put it in here, our app here. So this is great. I can click on this model, and they will show us the records, or they will show us the field. So you can see it has an ID, name, phone, image, and email. And if I click on add new record, it will give me an interface where I can add a record. Okay, So now we have set up to this point. There is one thing that is remaining to finish the settings. Okay, just go back to the documentation here. So the one thing that is remaining is creating the global Prisma instance. Remember, after running Prisma Client, it gave us this Prisma Client. Okay, so simply create a file, okay, in libs, and we're going to call it a database. Now we'll always be getting this instance. Remember, the instance it created when we run npx prisma generate. It created the instance of Prisma, and it can store it in the global. Now if you search about global.this, you guys can search about it, what the meaning of this. But this global.this, it gives you an environment, okay, because we can be in production, we can be in development, we can be in the browser. So it can know if there is an instance of Prisma in that environment, okay. For instance, we can be in production or in development, and it will check in that environment you are running in, and it is a node environment, okay. It will check in that and find if there is an instance of Prisma. If it is already there, then we use it, okay. We simply say global.this.prisma is equal db, else we create a new instance, new Prisma, okay, new Prisma client. So this one is all about to avoid repeating ourselves or running multiple instances of Prisma all the time. But here it will be checking and see if the Prisma instance is already running, it uses it, else it will create a new one. So copy this, okay, just simply copy this, and now come inside your app, inside the app or outside. In fact, I just use outside. Create a new file and say libs, okay, and inside the libs, let's create a new file, okay, call it db.js, okay, and inside db.js, just simply have this code, and in the most inside this code is we're exporting the Prisma, okay. This db, you can name it as Prisma. You will see other people naming it as Prisma. You can name it as db. Why I name it as db is to give me, actually, you're going to see how we'll be using it, so that we say db.this, db.that, okay. So this is how we want to use it, and this is the last thing we had to do, okay. So after we have done all those ones, now we can start actually performing the endpoint, okay. We can start now getting the data from our endpoints. Remember, already the endpoint is really ready, okay. Let me just see, after creating this, if I go in app API route, we had already done this in the beginning. We are accessing all the data, we have it very well, and we even created a new object out of it, new contact object. So the only thing really want now to pass in is simply to call the down here is now to use Prisma. So use here we are going to use Prisma to create the resource, or to create the contact, okay. So we have the contact data. Now we're just using the Prisma to do this, okay. So if you check on the usage, that's why I put this guide here. You see that we simply call this db. The instance is the one that gives us the ability to perform things. This instance we create inside the db, this one, okay. So we call this db, or this instance, okay. We call this instance here, and we use the data, the model, and then we can create, okay. So I'm just going to say here, go in the route, okay. Inside the route here, we're just going to say const, okay, new course, new contact, okay. Now we could just call this one data, since we have already that. So I'm just going to say this as data, okay. Or you could even eliminate this, Okay, you can eliminate this. I'm just going to show you. You can eliminate this, and then you define data inside. You get the point. You can eliminate this and define data inside. Okay, so you can just come here, create new contact is equal to so this is a point why you call now the Prisma. So you say db, because we saved it in the db. So this db is the Prisma instance dot. Okay, now here, now you put the name of the name of the model. Okay, so if it is contact, now in small cases you call contact. Okay, so it's db dot contact, okay, dot create. So it has this create what? It has this create method, and in the create method it passes an object, and in this object it has one item which is data. So inside this data is where you actually put these keys, these ones here. That's why I was saying we could now put data equal to data. You get, we could just do this, data equal to data, just something like this, or we could actually, if it's just like this, we could pass in the data like that. You get, so this one, it should be working. Okay, so it is up to you how you want to create it. You can create the data like this, or you can come and create just like you put one by one. You could just say data. Now to show you how it's supposed to work, let's first create a dummy one, not using this one. Let's first create a dummy one. First of all, in the data here, you pass in the columns. If you want to see the columns, let's go to the studio. We have ID, which is auto-generated. We have name, phone, image, and email. So we can just say in the data, we have first, we have name. So they just give a name like John for testing. Okay, let's go to the phone. Okay, let me pass 07 blah blah, just like that. That is not my phone number, just any random number. Okay, comma, let me put email. Okay, and let me say John Doe at gmail.com. Let's put the third one, which is the image, and the image is string, so really you can put any stuff here. It will still work, because it is not a must that it should be just like that, but it will be in this format. So we can just put something like this. Now I'm using this one to test. Okay, it is not using any of our data, as you can see. It is not using any of our data here. I'm just simply putting this one, show you that the keys you pass in here are the keys that are inside your database: name, phone, image, email. Okay, name, phone, email, image. Okay, as simple as that. Let's see, it is called what? Image. Okay, so you see the key here right now. If we had named it profile, okay, by the way, you can change, for instance, if I want to change this to profile, the fact that here we are having profile, this one, okay, you can actually make changes in your schema. Let me show you. If you change this from image to profile, just like that, if you change and you put profile like that, what you only need to do is let me open a new instance of the terminal here. So what you need to do is run npx db push. So every time you changes anything in the schema, just push it just like that. This one pushes it, it pushes it to your database. Okay, so npx db push, I think is npx not that, it is npx prisma db push. That is the right command, npx prisma db push. So you can just like push your changes when you make changes, and I wanted to show you how you could do it. So here I'm making changes, and I've put profile, and this is to match with my data, by the way, to make sure that this data I'm having here is matching with this. So after I've pushed, let me go ahead and refresh here. Okay, let me go and refresh, and now we still have the image. I think we have to rerun this. Let's see if it changed. Database is already in sync, I think, everything. Let's first check in MongoDB. If I check in MongoDB, there is nothing. Can I see the fields? I don't know if I can see the fields. Okay, there is no any item, but if I just say insert a document, cancel this. Let's go back to let's go back here. Let me stop this instance of let me just go to this one. Let me first stop this one and run again the npx Prisma Studio. Okay, let's see. Just go now, bring this here. Okay, close this one. Let's go back to this one, and we see. Okay, so now you see we have the profile. We have the name, phone, profile, and email. So you have to run and rerun the studio. It will pick your stuff from the Prisma here. Okay, so having done that, that means here we change this one to profile. Okay, so let's try to trigger this. So what we want is this one is going to create a new contact. Okay, it is actually await. Make sure you are awaiting this. So new contact is await db dot contact dot create. So it uses the create method to create, and inside the create method you pass in an object, and in that object it has this data key that is containing our data. Okay, so let's just go and execute this from the form. Refresh. Okay, just refresh, and let's feed in some dummy data. Now just like that, choose an image, this one, open, submit. Okay, let's see if we have any problems. Okay, let's see if we have any problems. So it seems we have a problem. Oh no, contact created successfully. Let's check in the console. Let's check in the console down here. So you see it generated an ID. It has the name, the phone, the profile. Okay, so this is it doing this one, and I first tested, and it is always good to first test just like this. You put some dummy data. So let's go to our Prisma Studio. Just refresh. Okay, refresh. And by the way, so this one, what we did here, it actually pushed this to the database. Okay, it pushed this to the database. Okay, so you see now we have one item. Okay, ID, John, phone number, the profile, and this John Doe. If you go and check in your database, let's refresh here. I'm just going to refresh. There was even no need to refresh the whole page. You can refresh only the database. but nevertheless, we are refreshing and we have one item. Okay, so you see we have ID, name, John, this one. So this data that is here, it is actually what is being pulled on this studio. Okay, so you don't need to go to every time to MongoDB. Now you have this nice interface that is showing us the table that we are having, or the collection that we are having. Okay, so now we can now work with this. Now this is the dummy data. Can we send our data now? Okay, so there are so many ways. Let me even remove this. Okay, there are so many ways how you can extract. Remember, we have the name, phone, email, and profile. So we can say, for instance, for the name, it is the name. Okay, for the phone, it is the phone. Okay, and for the email is the email. Okay, for the email is the email, and for the profile is the profile. Just like that. And if you find your keys and the values are the same, just like this, name is name, phone is phone, email is phone, is email, profile is profile, then you don't need to do this. You can simply remove this. In JavaScript, that is very okay. So remove this like this. This one will create that key and will populate that data, just like this. So data is this one, and this is what I was saying here. This is, we are getting all this from here, and then we are putting them here. So for the first time, we want to see the data that we are going to send from the form now being sent to the database. Let's see it in action. So I'm just going to go back here. This time, refresh. Okay, let me just use a fake field again. Okay, and to just, I can just say fake filler, but this name, they have put the name here. Let's choose the image, this image, open, submit. So let's wait, creating, please wait. So it does all the things behind the scenes. It creates everything. Contact created successfully. It clears the phone. Now what we want to do is check this on here. Okay, you can even first check on the console here, because it must come on the console. Okay, just check on the console here somewhere, and the data is here. Okay, and our profile image is here. Let me just go back, refresh. So refresh the studio. Okay, refresh the studio. Now we should have 2 items now on the studio. Yeah, so we have two items. We have the phone number, we have every details, including our profile, which is an image from Cloudinary, guys. So thank you much for watching this episode. I'm just going to come in the next episode to do the read. So we read the item. So we have now, we can create the data here. Now what we want is to use that data and we read it. We bring it on the UI. We also bring it inside this site. Okay, so this is what we are going to do in the next episode. See you in that episode. Thank you so much for watching.